Hey guys, this is Smithy. Welcome to my channel. Today's video is so very special. We are gonna do the FOMO wish list for the month of November, and I am so happy that anything that I'm interested in, it's already there in my collection, and I've not been so tempted with all the other releases that are come out in the market. So if you guys want to see all my FOMO wish list for the month of November, then please keep on watching. Okay, let's start off with the thing that was actually the most interesting for me for this month, and that is Give Me Glow's Down to Earth palette. And I was very sure that I'm gonna buy this palette, and I am still very interested, but you know my love affair with green shadows. I'm not a big green person. So when I was like breaking down the palette, I was like, this is neutral, but like a mixed of warm tone green and cool tone green and a little bit more like a sagey green kind of an effect. And when I was thinking more about it, I was like, Smithy, I think you have those shades in your collection. And then Nomad's Pacific Northwest came into my mind, and I was like, this can definitely serve my cravings for sure. I am not worried about the neutral tones because I feel like I have a lot of neutral palettes. I'm a neutral person at heart, so I'm not worried about that. But I feel like this has some olivey greens, some sagey greens, some more like cooler tone greens, but also a mix of neutrals. I feel like this is more of a concise version to the Down to Earth palette, and because I do have this, plus I do have the Longing palette, I feel like I can pretty much get the same vibes with this palette. So that is why that is going out of my wish list, which I was very proud of, that I'm not buying that palette. Not that I don't want to try Give Me Glow, but I also feel like I am not a person who gravitates towards bigger palettes, and that palette Down to Earth is definitely more on the bigger side. So I was like, the price was right, but I'm not going to use it in my everyday life, especially because it has so much of greens. That is why I'm very happy with the Pacific Northwest palette from Nomad Cosmetics. Okay, the next palette that was on my wish list was from Nomad itself, and the palette that came into the FOMO wish list was the ChristKindlmarkt palette, and I do have this palette. It was sent to me in PR. You can use my code Smithy Sony to save 10% off, and this is a beautiful palette. It's a very neutral tone palette, but with pops of red and green too, and all these shimmers in this like Christmas tree format. It is so beautiful, so lovely, and you can definitely get a lot of variety of looks with this palette. I have a dedicated video using this palette on my channel. Do check it out. I'll link it in the icons above for you guys. But this is a beautiful palette. If this was not sent to me in PR, I would have definitely got it for sure. Okay, the next palette that was there in the wishlist was from Simply Posh Cosmetics, and it was the Gingerbread Bakery palette. And this palette, I feel like I do have this too. And again, it was sent to me in PR, and you can use my code Smithy to save 10% off. I feel like this palette is a beautiful combination of pastels and neutral tones together. And I'm glad that these pastels are in combination with neutral tones, because this is my comfort zone, and this is not my comfort zone, and I can definitely mix and match to make it my comfort story. So I feel like this is very pretty. I love Simply Posh Cosmetics shimmer shadows. That's not a question to ask to. It is very pretty. The only thing that I would say is this palette definitely lacks deeper tones, and this is the only deeper shade in this palette. Rest everything is pretty much light to mid tone. I would definitely love Simply Posh Cosmetics to get more deeper tones in their palettes. That would definitely help more variety of looks. I definitely feel that is the one thing that is missing. And pretty much the pastel tones, I definitely use it like up in a corner pop shade. It's not my preferred look on me, but for that reason, I feel like I would have loved if there's like a deeper blue there or a deeper green to combine. I would still love Simply Posh to do like light to mid tones here and mid tones to deeper tones, just so that all the aspects from like the color range is covered in this palette. But all in all, this is a very beautiful holiday palette. I would definitely recommend this. The next palette that was there on my wish list was from Odin's Eye, and this was the Ice Crystal palette. Now I feel like from a long period of time, Odin's Eye is not a brand that is appealing to me. I don't know what is, like, I feel like they are doing a lot of like pastel-y, very light tones, and personally for me, I do not like lighter tones only in this palette. The other factor that adds to it is like now Odin's Eye is doing like a bigger palettes. I used to wait for their holiday palettes to come out, but because they're doing bigger eyeshadow palettes, I don't think I am the audience for that, for the bigger palettes. So for that reason, I think it was an easy pass for me. The next thing that was there on the wish list was from the BRATZ and Glamlite palette. Again, I feel like this palette is again very light to very colorful, and I feel very confused when I look at that palette because it's so colorful. It's like hot pinks and purples and silvery tones. And the top portion is completely pastel-y, like very lighter tones. I feel like again this was an easy pass for me. I know Glamlite is like an affordable brand, and I absolutely would love to have more neutral tone palettes from them. I feel like I would be an audience for that, but this would be an easy pass for me. Okay, now next we have a bunch of Klarity Cosmetics palette on my wish list. To be very exact, 3. I couldn't even believe my eyes that they came out with 3 palettes back to back in November, at least the ones that I'm seeing. Autumn Rose, Pure Petals, and on the other side palette. Now when I see all these palettes, and I'm just pulling up all the palettes in front of me just so that I have the reference to talk about. Other side palette is a lot more like green and pink leaning. I feel like again I'm not a person who wears so much of like colors on my eyes, and that is definitely more deeper tone leaning, and I feel like Klarity Cosmetic does a lot of palettes that are more deeper tone leaning. Other side definitely didn't pique my attention, so that definitely goes out of my wish list. That's not the palette for me. Pure Petals is definitely more like a lavendery blue, pink, green kind of color story. Again, to me it's more of a spring color story rather than more of like a winter color story. I'm not a person who wears a lot of blues and greens, and that is not my preferred kind of palette, especially when I'm looking at the palette. It's a 12 pan eyeshadow palette, out of which majority of the shades are blue leaning. So that definitely can go out of my wish list too. Out of the 3 palettes that they launched this November, I feel like the only palette that I was remotely interested was the Autumn Rose palette, because again it was a little bit more neutral leaning, but the only thing with Autumn Rose I feel like is it's lacking lighter tone mattes. I feel like no matter what you dip into that, if you dip into that palette, you are going to get deep dramatic looks out of this palette. I feel like that ratio of lighter tones to deeper tones is missing. They do a lot of like mid deep to deep tones a lot, and their shimmer shadows also do not like appeal to me so much. It's more like a traditional shimmer. It's not like PCR shimmers. So for that reason, I'm going to keep it out of my wish list. I don't feel the urge to run out and buy it. Yes, if I see this in like a heavy discounted price, I might still give it a go, but I feel like for now, that's not the palette that's jumping out to me, so they can go out of my wish list. The next palette that came into my wish list is from a newer brand, and I am not sure how do we even pronounce this brand because it is a C-beauty brand. I think it's called Noiricon, and this was in collaboration with Freya86 on Instagram, and this palette is called Candy Puppet Eyeshadow Palette. This palette definitely appeals to me because it's a neutral tone eyeshadow palette, but I feel like the shimmers are definitely more like emollient shimmers that might cause creasing on my eyelids, and I would definitely love to see more reviews before I purchase this palette. This palette retails for like 48 USD. And it contains like 10 eyeshadows. So I have one of the Freya's collaboration palette with me from Cheery Up Makeup, and I absolutely love it. So I know that she can do color stories that definitely appeals to me. It's just a matter of like the quality of the eyeshadow palettes. I feel like even in Cheery Up Makeup palette, we do have a little bit of emollient eyeshadows too, which tends to crease on me. So I'm very, very careful on like how I apply my eyeshadow, and I'm a person who loves to apply eyeshadow, so I definitely don't want to be like so cautious, especially if their majority of the shades in this palette tend to creasing, so I don't want to commit to that palette until and unless I know how the eyeshadow palette performs. So for that reason, it's still staying on my wish list, but I'm not gonna buy it till the time I don't see reviews from like oily eyelid person. If you want to send that palette to me for review, I'm happy to review it for you guys, and I'll keep my honest opinion to my audience. So just keep that in mind. Next, let's talk about the next palette that is there on my wish list, which is the Fantasy Cosmetica Artificer palette. When I heard that Fantasy Cosmetica is coming out with like a spicy neutral palette, you know how much I love Fantasy Cosmetica. I had to get it, and this was bought by my own money, and I feel like this palette is beautiful. If you are a neutral lover, and if you love more, I feel like neutral to warm tone leaning shades, you would absolutely love it. I feel like the variety is definitely there with this palette. I really love the quality of this palette. I am going on like a quick vacation to Vegas for about like 4 days. I am contemplating on getting this palette with me just because it's neutral, it's concise, it's small, and I feel like I'll definitely have a lot of uses out of this palette if I'm just taking one palette, but we'll see how that goes. But I would give you 2 thumbs ups from my end for this palette. It is an absolutely beautiful, gorgeous palette. Next, we have the Glaminatrix Merry Chrissy palette, and this is the palette that is actually sent to me in PR. I've not received it as yet. It's still in the customs line. When the palette is coming from Australia, it takes a long period of time for me to get, and I don't think anybody has gotten the PR as yet. I got a notification that is on my way, but I've not received it as yet. I'm very excited about that palette because it seems like a beautiful Christmas palette, and you know how much I love Glaminatrix Cosmetics eyeshadows. They are definitely like one of the top indie brands that I absolutely love and adore because I love their mattes. I love their shimmers, that PC sparkly shimmers without being textured. I absolutely love them, and the swatches that I've seen of that palette is absolutely beautiful. It's a beautiful combination of neutral tones but colorful holiday tones, so I am very excited about it. Cannot wait to get it and cannot wait to play with it. The next palette that is there on my wish list was from DEDE Signature, and this is the Festive Eleganza palette. Now when this was revealed, I was like, finally we have a neutral palette, but I feel like when I'm looking at that palette definitely reminds me of Whispering Woods from Ensley Rain Cosmetics, as well as the new Merry Chrissy palette from Glaminatrix Cosmetics. I have both those palettes. I mean, I will be getting Merry Chrissy palette, but I also have Whispering Woods palette. Let me get that for you. So this is the Whispering Woods palette from Ensley Rain Cosmetics. Again, you can see the vibes with those neutral tones as well as those olivey greens and those murky burgundy tones. I feel like the only thing that's missing in this palette that is there in the Festive Eleganza palette is those red shades. Otherwise, I feel like it's pretty much covered. If you do have the Whispering Woods palette, you are absolutely covered. I tried to dupe the vibes of the Festive Eleganza palette. I did not like film it just because I didn't think that it is exactly similar, but this is how I duped that palette, and you can see the vibes. It's pretty similar, I would say, but the reds are definitely more punchier reds in the Festive Eleganza palette. So if you do have like the Krypton Cosmetics, the new Seraph palette, or any reds like deep dark reds in your collection, you can definitely get it covered. I feel like I do have those shades in my collection, so I'm not running out and buying the Festive Eleganza palette, but I'm very excited to see more neutral tone palettes that are coming in their line. I would love to see less of a green palette and more of a spicy neutral palette from them. I would definitely give it in, but that is definitely going out of my wish list for this November. The next palette that came into my wish list was from Cosmic Beauty, and it is their Death palette. I was very excited to see a new, and actually very shocked to see also a new palette from Cosmic Beauty because they just came out with another palette. And when I saw this Death palette, it totally reminded me of their last Halloween-y holiday palette that had the similar vibes with the reds and the purples. This is definitely a little bit more cool tone leaning as compared to more like jewel tones. It's very an interesting color story, but again, this is not a color story that I do not have in my collection or I would wear pretty often. I feel like it has a lot of blues, it has a lot of reds that I would not wear in my everyday life. I'm not a big gray person too, so I don't think this palette is for me, but they create some beautiful, amazing palettes in their line. I want to be very cognizant of what palettes I get into my collection, especially when I'm buying it with my own money. I definitely want to be more mindful of the palettes, whether I'm going to use it or not. And I definitely, that is the main reason why I try to dupe out the palette before I buy it. And I dupe out the palettes that I really want in my collection. But this is not a palette that is enticing me much. So that is why this is going out of my wish list. The next palette that really popped up like in last 2 days was the Titanium Fox's Shivering Owls palette. Now this is a brand that I really want to give it a go, because I feel like they do color stories that are very unique, at least to my collection, but Titanium Foxes are not shipping to US as of now, so that is why I'm holding off onto it. But Shivering Owls, if I talk about this palette in general, I feel like this palette is definitely more deeper, on the deeper side. Again, it's more like mid deep to deeper tone more. This is not the palette that's appealing to me. It has a lot of like, I feel like even the shimmers are more like black paste multichromes. I feel like I have many more palettes from them that I am eyeing more than the Shivering Owls palette. So this is not the palette that is like, again, capturing my attention much. So this is a palette, if it enters my collection, I would easily forget about it. So that is why this is going out of my wish list. One more palette to go from my Fomo wish list, and that is from Lethal Cosmetics, and it is their Serpant palette. Now this is also a palette which is super colorful, again with like hot pinks and greens. I feel like that was a trend that was happening this year with like hot pinks and hot greens. Again, I'm not a person who gravitates towards like emerald greens. I can deal with the olivey tone greens and sagey greens. Emeralds are not my cup of tea to wear. I feel like it's a very jumbled up color story. At least for me, I feel like it's too colorful. There's a lot of color that is going on that I would not wear in my everyday life. Plus pops of pastels thrown in with that spiky neon green shade that's jumping out to me and the reds. I feel like this is not the palette for me. So that is an easy pass for me. So that is all that I had for my wish list, Fomo wish list for November. Sound it down in the comment section below. Out of the wish list items, which is like the top 2 things that you are super excited about to get into your collection. Are you excited about anything, or are you skipping them all? Sound it down in the comment section below. But that's all for today. If you did like my video, you know what to do. Do give it a thumbs up, and also subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and ring the notification bell so that you're notified every time that I post next. I generally upload 3 videos every single week, every Tuesday, Thursdays and Saturdays at 9 AM Eastern Standard Time. Until next time, I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye guys.